Hello and welcome to Georgia Bulldogs Live here on the Georgia Voice of College Football, presented by FanDuel, of course. I'm your host, Matt Green. My co-host over there, Bo Underwood. Bo, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Although, I'm kind of mourning the end of another football season. It always seems like it never lasts long enough. It feels like just yesterday I was getting super excited about week one of college football and then of the NFL. And fast forward now, man, it's all over and we've got 7 months of off season ahead of us. So um that's always tough. But had a good time watching the Super Bowl last night and can't complain otherwise.
That's true. Football is officially over. Do you think that's why the Pro Bowl used to be like, the season's over? You get one little taste. I don't know. You get to see your favorite players out there. I don't know, but I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I saw some of the flag football, I guess they had. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think
I did see some of that.
There's all this revisionist history about the Pro Bowl that's like, oh, the Pro Bowl is like a joke now. It used to be real football. It's like, dude, the Pro Bowl has never been real football. It has never been taken seriously by anybody. So you might as well just make it flag football and let them have fun. I think that they probably should move it back to Hawaii and probably should do it in March, but that's neither here nor there. I'm tired of people acting like the Pro Bowl at any point was a legitimate like NFL All-Star game because it's never been that and it never will be that.
I agree with that. However, the aspect of a Pro Bowl being like a legitimate like career achievement for you used to be a thing, and now it's Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco were Pro Bowlers. Like, who was the dude for the Ravens a couple years ago?
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, Huntley was a Pro Bowler. Like, we started like 4 games or something. I don't know. Like, just I'm a big football reference person, baseball reference, these websites. You got Pro Bowls next to guys. Like that's supposed to be an achievement. And now it's kind of like, well, if you guys said no, he wanted to go, so now he's a Pro Bowler. Like, I don't know.
No, I can get down with that.
But yeah, that's that's our 2 cents there. But yeah, Seahawks won the Super Bowl last night. Mike McDonald, UGA grad, getting it done. Kenny McIntosh, I think the only Georgia player on the roster, wasn't active for this one, but I don't have the stats in front of me. Do you have it? It's like there's some sort. Is there a really long streak of Georgia having a Super Bowl champion, or just a long streak of the Super Bowl participant?
I think it's participant. Yeah, because champion would be pretty dang impressive, but I do believe there is a streak. Man, I should have remembered to write that down before we did this, but. Yes,
well, if we're just going off the top of our heads, you could probably remember consecutive teams more than me, but like the Eagles were the year before, obviously had a bunch. The Chiefs, was it Mecole Hardman catching the winning touchdown? Was that the year before that?
23. Yes.
So I can't even remember
who season
the Chiefs back-to-back
also won it. They beat
anyone on that first Chiefs team?
They beat the Eagles. The Eagles had a bunch. The Eagles had Jordan Davis. He was a rookie.
But in terms of the champion, was there anyone on that first Chiefs team? Because Mecole came back.
I think Malik Herring might have been, but I don't remember for sure. And then 2021, you have the Rams, obviously. 2020, the Chiefs had Hardman. I'm not sure who the Buccaneers might have had, but yeah, I mean that's the last 5 Super Bowls right there. So you could probably go back further than that if you wanted to. Okay. Maybe it ends in 2019. I don't know, but I don't think it does.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that. But yeah, Mike McDonald, former member of Mark Richt's staff, UGA grad.
Yeah, former
pretty crazy
at Georgia.
Yeah, for real. But most important thing, sir, is I think we learned from the Super Bowl. Drake May going 27 of 43, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Patriots offense basically anemic for the first 3 quarters. I think we learned the MVP selection was correct, sir. Matthew Stafford deserved that MVP. Balled out on the Seahawks multiple times this year. Drake May didn't know what he was doing. Threw 8 touchdowns, no picks in 3 games versus the Seahawks.
Drake May played poorly, but to me, I think if I can play devil's advocate here, I think the reason that Drake May got MVP is, first of all, because it's a regular season award. You're not supposed to look at the Super Bowl as a way to see who won MVP. Stafford didn't even make the Super Bowl. So But I think the MVP was
Easy there.
more about the fact that the Patriots had this incredible season. You know, they were a top offense in the league. They led the league in all these analytics like EPA and everything. Despite the fact that, I mean, you look at Drake May, like the receivers are not that good. The running backs are not that good. The offensive line is bad. And they still went 14-3 and went to the Super Bowl, or just 14-3 in general in the regular season, and I think they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. If they weren't, then they were tied for it.
I
As the
believe
number
so. They got
no,
the bye. Only one
no,
team gets the bye,
Denver was.
right?
Denver was, but they're
Denver.
the 2 seed.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that award was always about that fact. Whereas if you look at the Rams, I mean, Stafford won MVP, so like, sure, Stafford had better stats, but Stafford also had, maybe the best receiver in the NFL, top 3 receiver, the best red zone receiver that we have in the game today. He had a great running back. He had a good line. He had a good defense. But New England, I think Drake May had all those things working against him all season, and he had a great year in spite of that. And then the Super Bowl, obviously Drake May did play bad. I'm not sitting here denying that. I mean, it was his worst game of the season, more likely. But just the fact that there wasn't that much around him in the first place, and the fact that he had to go up against the best defense in the NFL, I think that just kind of caught up to him, and that's why they lost the Super Bowl. Obviously, May didn't play well, but who really didn't play well were the guys around him on that offense. I'm not going to name names, but Will Campbell.
Yeah, that's fair. You heard it here, folks. Bo Underwood prefers Drake May to Matthew Stafford.
Listen, man,
and he's not even a real Georgia
Matthew
fan.
Stafford's my favorite player of all time. He's the reason I'm a Lions fan. But that MVP was a lifetime achievement award. It was not the spirit of what the MVP award should be.
I think you could, on the merits, I think you could easily give it to Stafford. It's not just that may have been the tiebreaker, or the tiebreaker was someone randomly voting for Justin Herbert, I guess.
Hey,
voting third party, really shaking up the election. But
don't shade Justin Herbert.
But I mean, Herbert getting one MVP vote was a little out of left field.
See, I don't think it was, though, because I think that speaks to the spirit of why I argue for Drake May. Justin Herbert had an even worse offensive line and an even worse supporting cast, and he got the Chargers to the playoffs. That might be the most he might have been the most valuable player to his team of anyone all season, but they don't really always give the MVP based off of that, even though that's what they say they do.
No, that's fair. I'm not here to trash Herbert. Herbert's a good player for sure. It was interesting that it came down to one vote.
Yeah, and then Justin Herbert was the one.
Yeah, Justin Herbert was like the one vote. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's Stafford getting the MVP. Thrilled for him. Clear-cut Hall of Famer now. So yeah, that's the good news coming out of the NFL this week, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, man.
But speaking of NFL, Shadira Uzo-Diribe, Georgia's outside linebacker coach, is making the jump to the NFL, going to the Dallas Cowboys. So Georgia's got a position coach to replace. This is why I've always said signing day should be like mid-February, maybe late February or something. Like all these coaches, they're in the same ecosystem as the NFL. Like guys are gonna take some of these jobs and everything. It's like we have the first dust settling around December, all the coaches moving, and then the NFL season ends, and it causes like another carousel. But Uzo-Diribe going to the Cowboys, so Georgia's gonna have to fill that spot. I have a couple names. We may have the same names written down of a couple guys to look for that spot, but who is the guys that maybe jump out to you as far as replacing the outside linebacker coach?
Yeah. Oh, the first thing I do want to say is Georgia is very lucky now that there's not a spring transfer portal anymore, because the outside linebackers coach leaving could have impacted some of the guys on that roster. Some of those guys could hit the portal. But that's not going to be something they have to worry about anymore. So it's good that the transfer portal is one window now. But to actually answer your question, sorry. I think the top candidate for this job is easily Christian Robinson, who is currently the outside linebackers coach at Alabama. There's just a clear connection with him having been a former Georgia player here. He was a pretty solid player in towards the tail end of the Mark Richt era, and I don't believe he's ever actually coached with Kirby Smart, but he does have that Georgia connection. He has been touted as a fast rising coach, has gotten, plenty of credit for the work that he's done at Alabama. And I think Georgia has the pull to be able to get a guy like that. And so that's who I would pencil in as their top candidate. And I know that's not an original thought because I know a lot of people are saying that too, but I think you would start there.
Yeah, and you hate to just automatically go to guys that are from the University of Georgia, but the other, like, and I think, what was he, 2012, 2013? I think Chris Robinson was his last year at Georgia. Maybe,
Yeah,
I want to say 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Money Down Robinson, I think is what they called him. He came in on third downs. But his track record, what has he been at? Florida? He's been at Auburn too. He's at Alabama now, or he's South Carolina maybe.
He was at Florida for a while. I know that I got to pull it. So he was a GA at Ole Miss for 2 years, and then he was a GA at Mississippi State. Then he coached at Florida from 2018 to 2021. Auburn for a year, Baylor for a year, and he's been at Bama since 2024.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, he's been all around the SEC, and obviously his ties to Georgia. That seems like the logical guy. But the other guy with ties to Georgia, to me, is Jarvis Jones.
Yep.
Like, I mean, outside linebacker legend. Like, just went to Carver, back to his hometown, home school, and won a state championship. Like, this guy's has a lot of experience, obviously on Georgia's staff, but he was never one of the on-field coaches. And also, like, when like, they just, in terms of like what makes a good coach, sometimes the guys that are the freak athletes aren't necessarily the best coaches. Like, because it's like when you hear Dominique Wilkins talking on like on the Hawks broadcast, like, why didn't you just go down there and dunk on that guy? Well, Dominique, everyone can't do that, like Jarvis Jones is like that dude that like wasn't necessarily the combine freak, but dude had so many moves, like so many pass rush moves. He was just dominant in 2 years. Like, a guy like that, I think, has a lot to teach the next generation of how to be a pass rusher. So I'd love to see Jarvis Jones back in on the field in this UGA staff.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It would also, I mean, it would be quite the leap for Jarvis Jones. I mean, to go from he was an analyst or something at Georgia staff for a little while.
Yeah, because I think he was a grad assistant.
Yeah, okay.
I think he was like getting his degree.
Yeah,
I think the same thing Kevin Butler was doing.
Yeah, it wasn't even quite an analyst role, I don't think. And then, of course, I believe his dismissal had a little bit to do with, I think it was a DUI or something that he got.
Oh, he definitely got a ticket. Was it a DUI?
Yeah. But also, I mean, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. But it's also that's not something that I think that's not a career killer by any means, and it certainly isn't, because he got there's sirens outside my house. I mean, he did end up getting the head coaching job at Carver, which is a pretty respected football high school. But going from being a high school head coach to being a outside linebackers coach at a blue blood SEC school is quite the leap. So yeah, as much as Jarvis Jones is beloved, and I'm sure he is a good coach, I mean, like, the fact that there have been rumblings of him up for this job, I think, say enough. But it will be interesting to see them go that route for sure.
And to be clear, it was reckless driving and speeding. It was
not okay. Not quite a DUI. I apologize. I take that.
Yeah, just so we're there on the record.
DUI is much worse.
I feel like there is levels to it, but yeah. So in terms of and you just pull up his Wikipedia, it doesn't even actually show Georgia like as like coaching staff, because I don't think he was like ever officially on Georgia staff. But yeah, I mean, whatever capacity he was, I think he was like a grad assistant, maybe an analyst role. I guess that would be a pretty big jump in terms of Christian Robinson, a guy who's been a position coach in the SEC for 8 of the last 9 years or so. I don't remember the exact years you said. So like that is a good call. And if I'm just going off who the better player was, obviously it's not close, but that doesn't necessarily tell us who the better coach is right now.
It doesn't. Kirby Smart was a pretty good player, but look at the coach that he has become.
Yeah, there you go. Christian Robinson definitely fits in more in the Kirby Smart mold. Real industrious player.
Yeah, I would honestly, I would put my money on that, especially with some of the reported weirdness, instability going on with the Alabama staff. I know that DeBoer came out and pretty much nipped any Michigan or any leaving anywhere else rumors in the bud, but it kind of seems like Alabama is just a much more. I mean, Georgia is a tough place to coach too, but I think the whole Saban after current of it all, I think makes Alabama kind of a harder place to coach, even more pressure than there would be at any other SEC schools. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumped ship and came to his alma mater, but we'll have to see, man. I mean, I don't think there's any when Stacey Searles stepped down from offensive line coach, they promoted from within immediately, and they didn't do that for this job. So I think that kind of tells me that they're trying to hire somebody from outside. So if that were the case, I would really bet on it being Christian Robinson, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think that's probably the safest bet, especially considering Alabama just doesn't have the same attachment without Nick Saban there. Like Kirby Smart obviously was offered the defensive coordinator job when I think Todd Grantham got it back in 2010, 2011, whenever that was. And it's preposterous to even offer a lateral move to a coach of Kirby Smart's stature at that point. But because it was Georgia, that's the only reason he was even considering it. But he ultimately still stayed on there with Saban. Without Saban there, and you just kind of laid just the weirdness of the DeBoer era so far. Yeah, I could easily see Christian Robinson wanting to come home to Georgia.
Yeah, we will see how that plays out, man.
So I guess another news, I don't even know exactly what to do with the news, but I guess it's topical. It's in the news. Gunnar Stockton re-signing with Georgia, I guess because that's a thing now.
Agreed to a deal. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right? It's we don't know how much money
don't you just hate the language of that? Ugh.
Re-sign. Yeah, but I don't know who he re-signed with. Did he re-sign with the university? Did he re-sign with the Classic City Collective? I don't really understand. I know Georgia had this announcement this past week about whatever this new media thing, Glory, and it's I don't know, it is or isn't NIL, but it does help attract talent. I'm confused.
Yeah, this might be too cynical, but that to me is just definitely some NIL arm or collective or something that's thinly veiled as a tiered fan subscription service. But
yeah,
you're paying them money. Think about where the money's going, guys. It's going to NIL.
To quote the great Tim Robinson, feels like a cash grab. That's all I'm gonna say. But I don't know from who. I don't know who's even setting it up. It says not directly affiliated with the university. I don't know. It's a super PAC. I don't know.
It is like a football super PAC, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand it. But yeah, Gunnar Stockton, and I think that's ultimately it feels like Kirby Smart's approach to NIL. It's just dude, come to Georgia. Money won't be an issue. Yeah, we might not be the highest you could possibly make, but you're gonna get taken care of if you're a starter for the University of Georgia.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you ask Gunnar about this, he probably wouldn't even want it to be reported. He probably wouldn't even want it to be news. I go back to I think Kirby said something about this about a month ago. He was he said something to the effect of it's dumb that people are re-signing, or it's dumb that that's a thing that's happening and it's being reported, that's we've gotten to that point. Gunnar Stockton's a guy that grew up dreaming of wanting to play for Georgia, so I'm sure if you asked him about re-signing with Georgia, he would be well, yeah, what did you I wasn't gonna leave. I wasn't gonna go somewhere else and transfer and try to make I'm sure he can make 5 times the amount of money he makes at Georgia if he transferred to Texas Tech or something. But yeah, I'm sure he seems like a guy who wouldn't even want it to be a story at all. Wouldn't even want us to be talking about it. But it's good he's coming back. Georgia will be bringing back probably one of the more experienced teams in the entire SEC next year. I know they've got a lot to replace in terms of their pass catchers, but you look at the quarterback and the running backs and a lot of the guys on the defense and some of the offensive linemen, there are a lot of pieces in place for Georgia next year that were already pretty productive contributors for them this year. And now it's just going to kind of be on them to figure out some sort of pecking order with who's going to catch the passes.
Yeah, that's true. This whole story feels like just kind of one of those FOIA things, the Freedom of Information Act. It's like that's probably why it's a story, is because how you were on the red and black, right? It takes 40, 50 days or something to get information.
It's up. They have 90 days.
Okay, so it feels like something like that. Maybe Gunner signed something back in December, and now they've like finally like disclosed information, and now someone's trying to get clicks, try to get that story out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a good thing. I mean, we talked about it last week as kind of our main event of just kind of how much can you trust Gunner going into 2026. So he's Georgia's guy. I don't know if he's the best quarterback in college football, but he's locked in, and if he takes a step from year 1 to year 2, Georgia should be pretty good again.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm not sure like how much Gunner Stockton is going to be able to come in and like, can he elevate a bad supporting cast or something to a, beyond playoff caliber team? I'm not sure, but I'm also not sure that he'll have to. I expect Georgia to have, even without Monroe Freeling and Micah Morris on the offensive line, I think they're going to have one of the better lines in the SEC. I think their running game is going to be just as good, if not better, next season. And I expect there to be some pretty good players at receiver. Like it does. Losing a guy like Branch does concern me, not to mention the other 5 dudes that they lost. But I think if we get a gradual year-to-year improvement from Gunner Stockton, and they start feeling like they can trust him to be more aggressive, throwing the ball downfield, creating for himself, just leaning on him in 3rd and long situations or whatever that you didn't really feel as good about this year. Yeah, I do expect him to put together another very solid campaign, if not a mind-blowing one.
Mind-blowing. I hope you're right, sir. And it's so unfair, kind of some of the pressure and standards, expectations we put on certain players. Because like there's been so many of like the Stetson comparisons on him because of, kind of style of play. Like they're not even similar at all in terms of story, like how big time they were coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. But just something about the vibe, being all shucks kind of guys.
Yeah, they both got funny names.
Yeah, and it's like, so I want to put more of Stetson on Gunner, and it's like if he takes anything similar to the jump Stetson took from year 1 as a starter to year 2, like that Georgia. I mean, he was a Heisman, finished top 10 in the Heisman this past year, even though a lot of people. I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of people gave him enough credit. So I don't know. He's in this weird spot of like some people think he's overrated, and some people like don't think he's rated at all. Like I don't.
He's tough. It's a tough guy. It's a tough guy to rate, man. Because as many like he had so many like as much of an effort as they made to not put too much on his plate, with the running game and all the screens to Branch and all that stuff. And even, they ran a lot of like zone reads and stuff where he would pull it and run it. He did legitimately have some moments where like they won the game because of him, think to that Tennessee game or think to the first Ole Miss game. So
yeah,
you've seen it, like it's there. You wonder if he has to do more than that, if he'll be able to.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's why they play the games.
I think the only thing I'm concerned about is not necessarily him being able to, is him just holding up for an entire season, because that's, I think, what we really saw was he did have to carry, and I guess that is what you're saying, being able to, like, he had to carry the team a little too much, because he could carry them for moments, but a guy, what is he listed, like 6'1", 215, like, a guy carrying the load the way he was, like, he's not exactly, Haynes King's what, 230, 235, like he's built more for it than I think Gunner Stockton, and even he wore down at times.
Yeah, he was in tatters at the end of the year.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think Georgia's run game's improved again next year. That should go a long way in him not having to carry the load. But we'll see, sir. I guess that kind of leads us to the CBS sports bold predictions you were looking at earlier today?
Oh,
You
yeah,
wanna
yeah,
you wanna
yeah, yeah,
share
yeah.
that with me?
Yeah, so CBS Sports put out a article today by Cody Nagel, something like that. Um, top top 25 way too early. They made a way too early top 25, I'm assuming, and then they issued bold predictions for them. So among them, their number
Okay.
one prediction for number one Ohio State was that they'll lose 3 games. For Texas, they said Arch Manning will break Colt McCoy's single season touchdown record.
Now
Or
hold on. So
I'm just rattling off the top 4.
their way too early number 1 team is Ohio
Yes,
State, and their bold prediction is that they'll lose
I
3 games.
I also did not understand that. I don't I'm
Okay.
assuming they mean, like, maybe they lose 1 game in the postseason or 1 in the Big Ten championship again, and then 1 in the regular. I got no idea. If they got Ohio
That's
State at
funny.
number 1 and then they also got them going 9-3,
So
that
I guess
doesn't
they
make
just
any
think they'll
sense to me, but
start number 1, but
dude,
not finish number 1? I don't know.
yeah,
Okay,
that's probably
I
what it
apologize.
is. That's but, like, then, like, what's even the point of making them number 1 if you don't believe in them? I don't know. But
I'm
yeah,
with
and then
you, man.
they also my favorite prediction was they predicted Oregon to win the national championship. So that'll be
Like,
fun to
what are they, like, number 6
they're
or
number 4.
something?
That'll be
Okay.
fun. That'll be fun to revisit. But anyway,
Okay.
I'm beating around the bush here. Their prediction for Georgia was Georgia wins
Who's
their
number
third.
3, by the way?
Yes, who they have at
Okay.
number 3, I should have said. They've got Georgia winning their 3rd straight SEC championship game, which they said it may not feel bold considering Kirby Smart has led them to the SEC championship game in 8 of the last 9 seasons, but history says otherwise. In the 34 history of the SEC year, 34-year history of the SEC championship, only twice has a school won it at least 3 straight, and it was Alabama did it from 2014 to 2016, and then Florida did it 4 times in a row from 93 to 96. So history
Oh, wow.
says it's very hard to do. Georgia does have a crazy track record of making it there. So that was their prediction that Georgia will win their 3rd straight SEC title and join the ranks of only 2 other teams. And you know what? Conference championships appear to be on their way out of college football as a whole eventually. So if Georgia were to do that, who's to say they wouldn't be the last team to ever win 3 straight SEC titles? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
It's
maybe.
SEC title game.
We can't even talk like that.
I
SEC
know.
title game. We have to keep that game. But yeah, it's funny the explanation for that there, because my first thought was that doesn't feel that bold. Georgia winning the SEC, but the fact that it's only been done, the fact it's only been done that few of times, I think Georgia's probably the favorite in the SEC. I mean, I guess Texas. It's hard to remember Texas
the
is in the
media
SEC.
freaking loves Texas, man.
But yeah, the media loves Texas every year. Georgia, oh man, we should know Georgia's schedule by now, but I have not memorized the 2026 Georgia schedule. But they don't play Texas next year, right? I know they play at Alabama.
No, their new SEC opponents are at Arkansas versus Oklahoma versus Vanderbilt, and then versus Missouri, and then out South Carolina, and then they've still got Bama, Ole Miss, Auburn, Florida.
Yeah, I mean that schedule's going to be tough again next year, but I don't know. There's just a lot of unproven teams in the SEC. I'm not sure who like we've seen how quickly teams can turn it around in 1 year these days, all around college football. Like maybe Auburn is a lot better next year. Maybe LSU is a lot better next year. Maybe Texas A&M takes another step. But they feel like obviously Alabama's replacing a quarterback, but they're obviously always going to be a contender. I think it's Georgia feels like the favorite. I don't know how bold of a prediction I feel like that is. It seems like to me, I don't know. I guess you think SEC Media Days, Texas will be the team that the media predicts to win the conference.
Yeah, just because I mean, last offseason, I'll never forget seeing an article from The Athletic, which is a publication that I respect very much, positing the question of is Texas the new Alabama when they hadn't won anything yet? So, like, if they're going to continue to receive anything near that kind of treatment, plus the fact that Arch Manning has kind of rehabilitated his standing with the media with how well he played over the back half of last season. Yes, I fully expect Texas to be the favorite, but Georgia has won the last two, so they'd be right there with them.
So they play Ohio State and Ole Miss at home this year, Florida at home. They got to go at Tennessee, at Missouri, at LSU, at A&M. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Obviously, the Oklahoma in the neutral site, but yeah, I guess if Texas is getting the same amount of hype by the time next year starts that they were this past year, I guess it is a bold prediction to say, yeah, Georgia's just going to go ahead and win this conference for a third straight year, and it would also be 4 of the last 5 if they do win 3 in a row.
That's why it's a bold prediction.
Yeah. And it's becoming less important because I swear, as Georgia fans, we just have the worst timing ever. Like, okay, now that conference championships aren't important anymore, we're just gonna go ahead and win all the conference championships. But here we are. No one's crying for us with our 2 national championships.
Oh no, they'll be fine. But yeah, I'm sure maybe the sense, because Georgia was not the overwhelming favorite to win the SEC in either of the last 2 years that they won it. So I'm sure the general thought might become, oh, they're due to lose this one because they weren't exactly infallible either of the last 2 years that they won it. So maybe that, coupled with the fact that the media is just infatuated with Texas to a insane level, that might lead to Texas being the favorite, which I guess is why you could call this bold. But I don't know. I mean, I would give Georgia as good of a shot as anybody to win the SEC title game. I think them and Texas is probably a pretty fair top 2. And then if you want to open it up to Ole Miss or whatever Lane Kiffin's LSU team is going to come out looking like, or any of these teams. I mean, the SEC is Oklahoma. I mean, the SEC is crazy. Yeah, I think it should be another bloodbath, man. And if Georgia were to come out of that bloodbath as the number 1 team in the SEC again, I think it would be a hell of an achievement. It would be just shy of, winning 2 national championships in terms of Kirby Smart's most impressive achievements ever, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, there's a chance if this team wins the SEC that they're better than either of the last 2 years either. Most people don't even think that 2024 team was even good and they won the SEC. Like the 2023 team was better than either of these last 2 teams that have won the SEC. So yeah, with what they have coming back this year, I mean, I think there's easily a chance that they're better than the last 2 years. So that could mean mean another SEC championship, and hopefully it means more than an exit in the
quarterfinal.
In the quarterfinals, yeah, because that's all they've seen the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the SEC is just going to be like NFL light from here on out. I know that sounds so obnoxious to say to anyone who's not an SEC fan. I know. But I just mean, and because I know there's a lot of people nowadays who think the Big Ten is better. But the Big Ten is top heavy to an extent that I don't think the SEC really is. So now that they've got this 9th conference game and they've got 16 teams in it, and they send 5 teams to the playoff every year, it is just it's a jungle out there, man. It's a rough place to be at. And yeah, like I said, if I sound like a broken record, but if that were to come true and Georgia were to win 3 straight SEC championships, I think that would be one of the more remarkable achievements by a college football team this decade, really.
Yeah, I think so. It's not great timing for the SEC to be going to this 9-game schedule when the brand of the Big Ten is a little stronger right now. I hope these teams get credit from the committee on how difficult these schedules are about to be, because all those teams at the top had more complete resumes than the 5 teams that made it all had top 12 resumes, and that's with 8 conference games. With the 9th conference game, it will be interesting to see how the committee evaluates them.
Yeah, I think the committee is going to be fine with the SEC. The committee, let's be honest, man, ESPN and the College Football Playoff Committee, loves nothing more than letting in as many SEC schools as they can possibly get away with into the college football playoffs. So I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll feel very sorry for all the 9-3 SEC teams.
You say that now, but I mean, it's just they rank records at the end of the day. They just always seem to. And it's like if we had two-loss teams playing for an SEC championship and a couple 3-loss teams in third and fourth, like I don't know. We'll see what the committee does, but like the SEC is still one of the best conferences out there, probably the best conference out there. So yeah. Well, it remains to be seen. So we'll react to when that happens. But as far as our friends from FanDuel are concerned, sir, speaking of the tournament, March Madness is coming up. It's February right now. You want to get out there, put your money out there on a long shot. Someone's gonna win it all right now. If you want to go with the favorite right now, plus 420, Arizona Wildcats. Michigan plus 550, Duke Blue Devils plus 650. Those are your safe bets. You know, if you want to, there's no such thing as a safe bet. You know, please gamble responsibly out there, folks. But if you really want to roll the dice, look at those Georgia Bulldogs down there, plus 25,000, sir. That means $100 bet on the Georgia Bulldogs would win you $25,000. There's a reason, because it probably won't happen. But
yes,
who knows if Georgia Bulldogs get hot? We'll see. They're not trending in the right direction right now.
They got
the Florida Gators this week, although they did win on Saturday versus LSU.
Yeah, they did.
One big. I think LSU is one of the worst teams in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken. Right? They're near the bottom.
Yeah, they're not very good.
But hey, you got to win those games, and Georgia did on Saturday.
Yeah, Georgia needs to worry about making the tournament, I guess, before you throw any money on them winning the national title. It's probably 50-50 right now. If Georgia makes the tournament, I think if things go well for them over this back half of the year, they'll probably still be on the bubble unless they just rip off a crazy win streak. But yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not I would even bet on them to make the tournament at this point. But you never know, man. You can get hot at random times in basketball, and they've got a bunch of dudes who seem like, Smurf Millender, Cannon Catchings, Blue Kane, Jeremiah Wilkinson, all seem like guys who could just catch fire at any point and just start balling and really lead a run. And then not to mention you've got Santos Surreal, who is one of the better defensive players in the entire country. So this Georgia team has the makings of a tournament team. They just don't always play like it. So that will make for a very compelling last month of this regular season / SEC tournament before we get to the big dance, which I'm really excited for because I'm very mournful right now about the loss of football. And March Madness is always a great pick-me-up,
I'm with you, man. Especially February, just got, just down the stretch of conference play too. Mm-hmm. And Florida coming to town this week. That was Georgia's biggest win of the season a year ago. So maybe they can repeat that. Storm the court again. I don't know, is it still would it still be a court storm worthy if they were to beat? I think they're unranked. Florida's like top 15. Storm the court.
Off pure hate alone, it might be.
That's fair. But yeah, so that's your FanDuel odds for the college basketball national title. We'll see what happens. Go take a chance, folks.
Gamble responsibly. Call the number.
Of course. So this is our main event on our show tonight. We've done this before. We do some drafts. We go back we did our newcomer draft before the year started a year ago. And I would say Bo Underwood was ultimately the champion of that draft. I think this one, I don't know, we'll be able to judge this one quicker because we don't have a whole season to play out. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna draft the best running backs, and Georgia being running back we weren't sure exactly how far we go back. Do you go all of Georgia history? We get Charlie Trippy and Herschel Walker in this conversation. But we decided to just keep it interesting. Let's just go with the Kirby Smart era. Let's go with a recency bias here, and let's go with the top. We're gonna go 5 rounds here, and we're gonna pick the top running backs of the Kirby Smart era, and then we're gonna build a squad, and then jump in the comments there. Tell us who's got the better squad: Team Green, Team Underwood, and then we'll let it play out. But Bo, me being the gentleman that I am, I'm going to let you have the number 1 overall pick here. I guess no, I won't say being a gentleman. I'll say you earned the number 1 pick, winning the last draft. You earned it, so you'll get the number 1 pick.
Wouldn't that mean that I don't get the number 1 pick?
Don't overthink it.
We can flip a coin or something, man. I'll take the first pick though.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
And we'll with the best running back of the Kirby Smart era, sir.
Yeah. Well, man, I really want to pick the guy that I was a bit more personally attached to, but I can't do that. I've got to be unbiased. I've got to pick who the better ball player by just a hair is. So I am going to go with Nick Chubb, who played 2 years for Kirby Smart. Obviously, senior year ended in a national title run. Nick Chubb was a complete beast for all 4 years he was at Georgia. I know that his 2015 season was cut short due to a gnarly knee injury, but the fact that he came back from that and was still such a great player. 2017 was, one of the 2 driving forces behind a national championship appearance. 2014 as a true freshman, Todd Gurley is probably about to win the Heisman Trophy and then gets suspended out of nowhere, has to miss 4 games. What does Nick Chubb do? He comes in, he rushes for like 140 yards at least in every single game. That's the kind of guy Nick Chubb is. I mean, from the moment he stepped onto campus at Athens, he was just a different type of dude. By all accounts, is a good dude off the field. And he's a damn good dog, man. What more can I say? I love me some Nick Chubb.
Absolutely. I think in the hearts of fans, well, not that people didn't love Nick Chubb. Just hit the final thing we saw of Nick Chubb was that game versus Alabama where they just kind of put the shackles on him and Sony Michel didn't get enough carries. It's like you hated it's like that almost made you, and then Sony Michel goes first round. It's like it almost is like, wait, was Sony Michel the best running back the whole time? But no, I'm with you. I think Nick Chubb was the true workhorse. Michel was able to kind of be the change of pace back. Mm-hmm. Although the 1 year that Chubb did go down, Michel was able to kind of carry the load the second half of that 2015 season.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah. So, you got to give Sony his credit there. But yeah, so Chubb, obvious first pick, I think. And we're doing the snake draft style. I don't think I said that from the jump, but that's how we did the last one. So it makes my job pretty easy here, having the second pick of the first round and the first pick of the second round. So I think I know who you are going to take, and he'll be my second rounder. So I'm going Sony Michel. I think just out of respect, I think Sony Michel, was he third all time in UGA rushing yards, only behind Herschel and Nick Chubb, and then I gotta go DeAndre Swift with the first pick of the second round. Just DeAndre Swift, just one of my favorite Georgia players of all time.
Yeah, man, you got the two quick guys, the 2 speedy guys. I mean, Chubb. I think Chubb's calling card was just the fact that he was so big and so hard to bring down. I mean, he just had the craziest contact balance. He was just such a strong player. Upper body, lower body didn't matter. And then, Michel and Swift were also pretty built guys, pretty tough guys to get. But they were, I guess, just known for being a bit more shifty than Nick Chubb, a bit quicker. Especially Swift has that crazy dead leg. They both offered a little bit more in the receiving game as well. But yeah, both fantastic players for Georgia. And
if you're
super talented.
If you're just bored at home one day, just Google DeAndre Swift and Auburn. It doesn't really matter what year. DeAndre Swift just destroyed Auburn every time. Auburn defensive backs could not lay a hand on DeAndre Swift several different times. and it's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, DeAndre Swift is he's just a baller, man. And I remember, and I'm not going to pretend that I discovered DeAndre Swift or anything. Like he was like a big top 20, top 30 recruit once I heard about him. But I remember like looking at the rankings, like the recruiting rankings when he was coming out of high school, and he was listed as an all-purpose back. And you kind of think of all-purpose back, kind of a gadget guy, and then you're like, but he's also listed at like 5'9", like 210. So this guy's an all-purpose back that's like diesel. That means he's probably just a baller. And then that's exactly what he was. So yeah, huge DeAndre Swift fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a beast, man. He kind of got on my nerves a little bit with the Detroit Lions, but as a Georgia Bulldog, I thought he was a great player. Man, I've got a tough choice here. I'm between two guys, and I'm trying to decide this a couple of different ways. Who do I think was the better player, who accomplished more at Georgia, who put up more statistical production? There's a lot of different ways that you could play this, but let me think, man. Let me think. All right. I'm going to go with a guy who didn't really have the most statistical production throughout his time at Georgia. But I think might be one of the biggest just eye test guys to ever come through Athens. And I think his pro career really justifies that. I'm, of course, talking about James Cook, who brother of Dalvin. That was always his calling card when he came to Georgia. It's like, oh, we got Dalvin Cook's brother. Pretty underutilized the first 3 years of his career, I would say. I mean, never topped 500 scrimmage yards those first few years of his career, but I mean, he was just super efficient. It felt like he was good for at least 7-8 yards every time he got the ball. Had real rare quickness, really nice feet, footwork, I should say. Really great receiver out of the backfield, and I think packed more of a punch than he got credit for as well. I think he's a smaller guy, but he was what, like 5'11", 190. I feel like he always, he played bigger than he was, I think. And of course, his senior year at Georgia, he has 1,000 yards from scrimmage. He was a really good receiving back for them. He was a really efficient running back. His style contrasted well with that of Zamir White, who I'm sure we might see go later in this draft. But yeah, I was always a big fan of James Cook. I just felt like he was always a different kind of mover when he had the ball, just super quick, super speedy guy. Does a lot of different things for you. And then I'm not using pro career as a factor here or anything, but I think what he's gone on to do with the Bills just goes to show you how talented he really was. So I've got James Cook as my pick.
Yeah, it's hard not to factor the pro career at all. Kind of like a tiebreaker. But yeah, James Cook's a good call. Obviously, national champion as well. Just super dynamic. I guess I'll say this about Nick Chubb and James Cook. I think I underestimated both of them going to the next level. I don't think I saw either of them having a year where they would lead the NFL in rushing. So shout out James Cook, just balling in Buffalo.
Yeah, man. He's been, I mean, he's really the only impact player they have on that team outside of Josh Allen on the offense and then Deion Dawkins. But skill position players, he's really all they got. And this, I don't want to turn this into Buffalo Bills analysis, but they need to do a better job there. But they've got James Cook, and good on them for that.
For sure. That 2021 Tennessee game where he just absolutely took over was a lot of fun to watch. And the national championship game that year. I think his run was really like, after that block field goal, like that James Cook run is what really turned the tide in that national championship game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that might have been the biggest play in that game up until, of course, the big ones at the end, the throw to Mitchell and the throw to and the Keeler Ringo play. I think that was, like you said, yeah, I think that was the one that really got them started towards the beginning of that second half. For
sure. And then your back-to-back pick here, sir, with the first pick of the third round.
That's right. I'm again between two guys, and let me think here. Do I go with the guy who was really only that productive for 1 year, or do I go with the guy that I think yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. Well, I was thinking about a certain son of a former professional boxer and Atlanta legend here, and I almost picked him.
Oh.
I do love the guy, but I'm actually gonna this is gonna be kind of a well, okay.
Oh man, you're all over the
Here's
place
the thing.
here.
Here's the thing. I'm making this pick as an investment. I'm making this
Okay.
pick banking on the kind of year I think this guy is about to have.
Oh man, you got this.
I'm going with Nate Frazier.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
of all the guys that I have written down on the rest of this list, I think Frazier is the best player. Like I do think that. I think Frazier just has crazy burst, crazy quickness. Um, he's a more willingly physical runner, I think, than he gets credit for. The fumble thing is worth bringing up, but he fumbled against Alabama in September and didn't fumble again the rest of the year. And I know that his stats don't really stack up to even an Elijah Holyfield or, Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton have this guy lapped right now in terms of career, production at Georgia. But I think Nate Frazier is a dude, man. I really do. And I think next year, if he stays healthy the entire season, I mean, we saw what happened to Georgia's offense in the Sugar Bowl when he went down. They were not the same team. They were really handicapped by just the lack of explosiveness that he provides them. And I think Nate Frazier's going to have a really great pro career. But before we even get to that, I think his 2026 season is really going to be one for the books. We all had him kind of penciled in to be Georgia's first 1,000-yard rusher since who was even the last one to do it? Was it Swift and Holyfield?
I think Swift, Swift 2019 would have been the last
Yeah,
one.
okay, yeah, Swift. He didn't quite accomplish that this year, but I think it's coming, and I think he's going to be well over 1,000 yards next year. So, like I said, this pick is kind of an investment. I wouldn't pick him if his college career ended right now, but yeah, that's me buying stock in Nate Frazier for 2026.
I like it, man. I actually I had a little mock draft, so I dialed up who I thought you were gonna pick, who you're gonna pick at each spot, and I had myself picking Nate Frazier with the second pick of the third round. So I am surprised this guy's still on the board, but you could ultimately have the better running back. I think this year will decide. But I'm going with Kenny McIntosh with the Super Bowl champion Kenny McIntosh. That's really what it would have been down to between. I think that's kind of the top 5 of the Kirby Smart era right now, and then Nate Frazier could potentially get into that depending on what he does here in 2026. So yeah, I don't hate the Nate Frazier pick at all. But yeah, McIntosh, he did just have the one like really productive year. He was just kind of. I think he was kind of third string the other 2 years, right? Because he was behind Cook and Zamir White. He was really just kick returner. I swear he almost took so many kicks to the house too. I don't know if he ever actually had a touchdown.
I don't think he did.
But I feel like every return was out like the 30 or 40 yard line. But yeah, McIntosh was just super dynamic. Like I remember there's the stat they shared his senior year was something along the lines of him, Percy Harvin, and Dexter McCluster of some sort of, rushing yards, receiving yards, type of thing in the SEC, total touchdown, something like that. So he really just shows the dynamic, company that he was in that 2022 season.
Yeah, he was a total beast in 2022. I think he went over 1,200, 1,300 scrimmage yards. I mean, he was super dynamic as a returner and also broke off some really big runs for them. Offered a lot as a third down guy, and he probably could have been an every down guy if they really wanted to use him that way, but they had the luxury of not really having to do that. But yeah, I mean, he was maybe the most productive player aside from Brock Bowers on an offense that went 15-0 and won the national championship. So it's hard to really argue with that. So yeah, and he's a Super Bowl champion as of yesterday. So
that's true. National champion, Super Bowl champion. He just wins, man.
yeah, man, he does.
And he's the one that made the big hat thing happen, I think, also. I think it was.
Yeah, I thought that was Brian Robinson.
What? No, was it? Was Georgia not the first one to do that?
I think Brian Robinson was.
I'm giving Georgia.
But I don't know.
I'm giving Georgia credit for
it. Is a legend. I thought about picking him, and I probably would pick him over Nate Frazier if I wasn't just a huge Frazier believer in 2026. But yes, I like that pick a lot.
Okay, so the 4th round is when it really started to get tough for me. And you've kind of showed your hand a little bit, so I think I know who would be your next pick, which is interesting to me. But I don't know that. But I think I'm gonna go with kind of surprise myself here. But I think this guy was kind of the most productive of this group. I'm gonna go with Dejon Edwards.
Yeah.
With the first pick of the 4th round.
He put together back-to-back 800-yard seasons. I think he went.
Yeah,
1,000 scrimmage
maybe
yards.
not 800, like 7, because I think McIntosh led them in 2022. So I think him and Milton were right there around 800 something in 2023. I'll pull that up, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean I believe he missed a couple games in that 2023 season, so he very well could have ended up as an 1,000-yard guy for Georgia that year had he been healthy the whole year. But Georgia was pretty limited without. I mean, him and Milton weren't really healthy that year, and they didn't really have a running back that they could count on to be productive for like all 3 downs and everything. And then it kind of showed. I mean, there were some really rough offensive performances in there. So Dejon Edwards is definitely one of the more underrated players of the Kirby Smart era, with how he never fumbled, and he was always really good in pass protection, and he was pretty shifty. He was a good receiver out of the backfield. He could run routes. Very, very complete player. He wasn't the flashiest. He didn't have the speed or the strength or like the elite traits that take you to the next level for years and years, but he was a very good college back for a couple of years there. So shout out to Dejon Edwards, man.
Yeah, and you were definitely close. So McIntosh led Georgia with 829 in 2022, and Edwards had 769, and then Milton had 592 that year. So, and then Branson Robinson with 330. But yeah, so almost 2 back. Basically, did have back-to-back 800-yard seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a stud. Okay, so I've got 2 back-to-back picks here.
Yes, sir. This is your 4th and 5th rounders.
Okay. Let me think. I'm between. Well, I guess if I'm between two people, I can just pick them both. So, I will go with. I'll go Zamir White here. Actually, that's a guy who I really wish we could have seen the full extent of what he could have done at Georgia had he not had some catastrophic injuries. I mean, he tore his ACL on punt return before his freshman year, I believe. And that kind of set him back a little bit. But he came back, he fought back from those injuries and rebounded to eventually become a main contributor for a national championship team, man. I mean, he scored Georgia's first touchdown of that game. I want to say he was a fan favorite. You had the Zoos chance every time he got the ball. He was a pretty sure bet in short yardage situations that you could give the ball to Zamir and he was going to muscle his way through. And, the injuries kind of sapped a lot of his long speed from him, but he showed that at times as well. So, yes, Zamir White was a really good back, I think, for what he was at Georgia. He could have been a lot more, but, he wound up being a key contributor and a really important player on a national title team. So, Zamir White gets the nod for me. And then
I respect that.
Yeah. And then so I got another pick here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am gonna pick Elijah Holyfield. I know Kendall Milton is probably the more productive guy over the course of his career. He played longer and played more for longer. But I think people forget, like the Swift stuff. Swift was really good in 2018, and he was always the flashy guy. But I just have a soft spot for like the bruisers, the guys that they don't really have the highlights that some of these other guys have. Certainly not that DeAndre Swift has, but Elijah Holyfield in that 2018 season was just a really steady presence in the backfield. You felt good anytime he lined up back there, and he was another really great short yardage, powerful guy that didn't have the most speed. Obviously, he had that infamous combine performance, but I just think he was a really reliable player, and I always enjoyed watching him run the ball. I wish he would have come back for 2019 so we could have seen what that would have looked like with another year of him and Swift. Maybe the 2019 offense wouldn't have been so brutal without him. But I think his absence was really felt once he left, man. I think Georgia not having that guy that they could turn the ball to when they really needed to like run through somebody's face, I think that hurt them a lot. And so, yeah, Elijah Holyfield, another pretty underrated dog for me, always was a personal favorite of mine. So he'll be my final pick.
That's a good call in terms of kind of the what ifs, because I never really have had a what if conversation about Elijah Holyfield. And that is a guy who could have come back, and Georgia's offense in general is just so, yeah, blah. I don't know, in 2019. And Swift like had a good production by the end of it, because he was the one guy. I think he had like 1,300 yards. But yeah, if they would have had more of an identity as like a two-man run game, maybe that could have, made up a little bit for the lack of pass game that year. But yeah, that's a good call. Elijah Holyfield just ran so hard. Like if a play was blocked for 7 yards, like he's lowering his head and getting 8 or 9. Like he always ran so hard, fell forward. That's a good pick for sure.
Yeah, man.
So I'll start with my honorable mentions here before I give my pick. So the guys who I think just barely missed the cut here of the best running backs of the Kirby Smart era, I think guys that are not going to get drafted. Brian Herrien.
Yeah.
I guess you could throw Trevor Etienne. You could throw Trevor Etienne.
I had him written down.
And then I guess Chauncey Bowens is probably the last one you could kind of realistic. I guess no disrespect to Cash Jones. I guess as long as we're just naming people. But I don't think any of those crack the top 10. I think you got to go with Kendall Milton.
Yeah.
For the last spot. So I gotta. We split that 2017 run game. You got that 2021 Cook Zamir White on your squad. I got that 2023 Dejon Edwards, Kendall Milton squad. But let's see here, sir. But yeah, like you said, Kendall Milton was productive. I think Kendall Milton, it's unfortunate how we kind of put some of these expectations on guys. Mm-hmm. If Kendall Milton wasn't a 5-star, I think people would have like a really just good opinion of his career. But I think it was kind of the what he could have been. And the injuries kind of slowed him down a little bit. So I think the expectations are aren't the best in terms of like Kendall Milton's reputation, but ultimately really solid running back at Georgia.
Yeah, and that's another guy who, I mean, the running back position in general just gets befallen with injuries maybe more than any other position aside from like DB. So that's another guy who I think you got to wonder about, if I know it's always like, oh, if a running back stayed healthy forever, which that just never happens. But if he had been relatively healthy throughout his career, those career numbers probably would have looked even better, because there was that stretch, man. He was healthy towards the end of the 2023 season, and he had a crazy game against Ole Miss. He had a crazy game against Georgia Tech. Kind of got bottled up against Alabama. I think he probably went for over 10 yards a carry against Florida State, because who didn't? There was a stretch there where Kendall Milton looked like the dominant player that he probably could have been at Georgia. So we'll always have that for Kendall Milton, man, because that's another guy who I think there was probably more meat left on the bone as far as his career, and injuries kind of robbed us of that. But always a talented player and a nice dude too. He was always nice to me when I did Red and Black and got to talk to the players and stuff. He was always a cool dude. So shout out to Kendall Milton, man.
Yeah, 790 yards and 14 touchdowns in 2023. Like a very productive year. Him and Dejon Edwards as that 1-2 punch, like we talked about. But gut reaction here, sir. So just looking at these two teams here on the screen, you definitely have some of the more power backs. You know, you got
Yeah.
Chubb, Zamir White, and Holyfield on your squad.
Mm.
Milton's really my only real bruiser. I got a
Yeah.
lot of the shifty guy, Michelle, Swift, McIntosh. We could have all three of them on
Yeah.
the field at the same time.
That's true. That's true. You've probably got a lot more versatility than I do. I guess it just depends. I mean, see, that's kind
Just
of
get
what
James Cook.
I've got. That's what I've got Cook for, though, and that's also what I've got Frazier for. Because I think those guys would be my change of pace guys. If this was a backfield, it would be hard to find carries for Elijah Holyfield because I think Zamir White is probably just a more effective version of what Holyfield does. But yes, I do like my bruisers. I do like those guys. I think those guys are just the most fun to watch. And
Other
so,
than
yeah,
the fact that you know exactly what Holyfield would do as the number 4 back, because you go to 2017, he came in and ran hard. Like
he
he
did.
was
Oh, yeah.
like, this is my turn.
Yeah,
And he made some big plays when he actually got a chance in 2017.
he definitely did. He had that run against Florida at the end of the game where they were killing
Yeah.
him. Yeah, he did.
Did he have one? Did he have one called back against Notre Dame? I feel like I remember him having, or was it a kick
Maybe,
return? Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe so.
I can't remember, but yeah, I think you could make the argument that Holyfield. I think you make the argument if I'm just looking at your depth chart, like I might have Holyfield at 4 and Zamir White at 5 in your depth chart.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think those could go either way. I picked White over Holyfield, so I guess he would be above there for me. But
Yeah,
that is a fair argument. I mean, they do a lot of the same things. I think White's probably just faster, so I'd go with him.
yeah, you just like to have a thunder and lightning kind of element to the backfield. I feel like Chubb and James Cook. That's really solid. I'm just all lightning. You know, Sony Michelle, DeAndre Swift. Although Sony Michelle had some power about him for sure, and it's kind of like both of those guys. I feel like are kind of the total package, as well as McIntosh. But yeah, then Milton is the real the only true power guy, and Edwards and Milton, you know, they play their part. So let's see here. Not that this is how we were doing our competition here, but we got the numbers here, sir. And the numbers say that I just wiped the floor with you, sir. More yards, more total yards, more touchdowns. No,
But,
they're all close here.
well, you've got more than me for sure.
I guess 2,000 total, but that's
you
where
got to think about Frazier though.
and I think we're not actually judging it based on just production, because I think James Cook, I think we both acknowledge, is like the eye test, you know, versus the actual production in college. Like people like Todd Gurley's not making anyone's list of greatest college running backs of all time because he has 1,000-yard season, as crazy as that is to say. But when you saw him play, dude's one of the best you ever saw.
He's the best George player I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. So you have James Cook from that element, and then like you said, Nate Frazier, who's got only guy on this list that's got eligibility left.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, man. I think he's gonna have a big year. Hopefully, health allows that, because I think if it does, he's in for some nice numbers. Even though they do have Bowens back there and a bunch of other talented running backs as well, I think it is kind of Frazier's backfield at the end of the day, and I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, I was shocked by just going through this list of how many guys ended up with between 20 and 25 career touchdowns. Like almost all of these guys ended up somewhere in there, other than Chubb and Michelle. But yeah, I mean, you look at the difference between our numbers right there, like just under 800 total, 800 rushing yards or so. Like Nate Frazier's probably gonna get 800 rushing yards, probably get 1,000. The total yards there, I got like a 2,000 yard lead. Like Frazier's probably not going to get 2,000 total yards, but that could be close. 15 touchdowns. Like Nate Frazier could have a 15 touchdown season. Like, depending on what Frazier does, these stats could be almost identical by the end of next year.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. Yeah, that could be the case. I guess it all just depends on how he does, man.
For sure. We'll have to figure out our next draft that we want to do. Maybe we do receivers or something. I don't know. We'll discuss at a later date. But this is a lot of fun, man. We'll talk all kinds of different stuff this off season and everything. Anything else you want to talk about with the good people before we get out of here, sir?
I think that's all I got, man.
All right, good stuff. Like you said at the jump, football season is officially over, but we will be here all year long. Georgia Bulldogs Live, presented by FanDuel. You know it. You know it. Me, Matt Green, Bo Underwood. Thanks for joining, everyone. Tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.